Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's extraordinary meeting of the Community and Corporate Overview and Scrutiny meeting. Just a bit of housekeeping first before we begin. Can I ask members to please turn off mobile phones, Alexa devices, etc., to make sure we are not interrupted in the meeting. Can I also remind everyone this meeting is being filmed and broadcast this evening. So please do mind your language and remember to put on your best face where possible. In addition, when members are not speaking, could they please have their cameras off in order to preserve bandwidth? Let's hope that one day we can actually have everyone on and have a nice collage of people looking very serious. And in addition to that, just if you have any questions, please use the hand up feature and I will call everyone out in turn. In attendance this evening, we have myself and the chair, Councillor Guy Granderson. We have Councillor Abdul Lloyds. We have Councillor Alison Swaddle. We have Officer Callum Wareham. We have Councillor Caroline Smith. We have Councillor Charles Margetts. We have, I presume, Officer Chris Trail, Councillor Clive Jones, Councillor Emma Hobbs, Officer Graham Ebers, Councillor Graham Howe, Councillor John Kaiser, Officer Matt Pope, Councillor Parry Bath, Councillor Paul Fishwick, Councillor Pauline Jorgensen, and Councillor Shirley Boyt. And with that, have we received any apologies for absence, Callum?
I've received none, Chair.
Okay, no worries. I've received none as well. Do we have any declarations of interest this evening?
Yes.
Emma?
Yes, I do. I'm a trustee of the Wokingham Advice Bureau, and David Cook of Optalis is our acting chairman.
Okay. So that would be a, what's the phrase, pecuniary interest?
Sorry, Emma, can you just repeat that for me? I didn't quite hear.
Sorry, Callum.
That's all right.
I'm a trustee of Wokingham Advice Bureau, and David Cook, who's on the Wokingham Advice Bureau, who's also on Optalis, is our acting chairman.
Yep, that's fine. That wouldn't prohibit you in any way from participating, Emma.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Public question time. Were any public questions submitted, Callum?
None received and no member questions either, Chairman.
Okay, so in that case, we move straight on to item 48, which is the medium-term financial plan. Going through the budget again this evening. So I believe it's John and Graham to start us off with.
Thank you, Chairman. This is part 2 of our revenue budget review that we committed as a group to bring to Overview and Scrutiny. We bought it last year. It was very successful. We had a very good it was very good in the sense that everybody contributed, plus the fact we also got some ideas as well, which was handy, that hopefully we built those into this year's budget. The budget is strange in the sense that it is dependent on a number of things. Normally it's only dependent on the settlement that we receive from the government around about Christmas time, just before Christmas. But of course, we're in the middle of this pandemic, which unfortunately seems to be getting into its second stride. So anything that we present or put forward obviously has a caveat that in the event that COVID takes off to a greater degree, we could find ourselves modifying our budget significantly. The only other thing or observation I would make tonight is that the budgets that being presented to you also include special items, but those special items have not been agreed. They're not, they are all subject to review, so there's no point talking about the special items. We're really interested in your feedback on the revenue lines, the growth and the savings. Thank you. Graham, if you'd like to take over.
Okay, thanks, John. Just a few more words by way of orientation to this meeting. Similar to last year, we started with a summary position and then we moved into the detail. by departments. And in our timetable schedule, we have at this meeting adult social care, represented by Matt Pope, the Director of Adult Social Care, and Charles Margetts from the lead member perspective. And then having gone through adult social care, we'll move into place and growth, which is Chris Trail from the director's perspective, working with the presenting with the lead members, and we have Pauline and Parry, and there is just one single item at the end for Wayne Smith, and unfortunately he can't be here tonight, but it is a very small item and is just about over the threshold of that number that we agreed previously would be presented here. So it's a 50k item, and we have previously made the decision that anything under 50k doesn't warrant the time of this meeting, because we have plenty of significant items to be attending to. So we're following the same pattern, over 50k by directorate, moving into growth and savings. Just to reiterate a couple of things John said, the special items have been included for completeness, but it's important to realise we've agreed, as in you have agreed, the timetable in the first session, and that sets out capital and special items to come next month, towards the back end of next month. So we'll be doing those then. And as John says, this is very much a fluid position. It's in our summary statement, first time to this group, we did stress that this budget setting process, even more so than any other budget setting process, is potentially subject to change, because there are so many, well, I would say potentially, almost certainly, moving parts to it. So I'll now move to presentation mode. So I will share my screen and I will hand over. My screen will simply be a presentational version of what you have already received in your agenda. So of course, use the agenda, what went out with the agenda. Most significantly, the detail that's included in the budget bid templates. That's the important part, I would say, in terms of understanding the detail. My presentation slides are there to just kind of steer us through each item in a summarized way to help proceedings. But the detail is that you received through the agenda. What I will say before it's asked, or maybe again when it is asked, is that we have got a form of sign-off to the budget templates. I think in addition, of course, you could start with the introductory question to the lead member. Do you agree, support this bid? That was obviously came back a lot last time, and in the beginning of embarking on this process, do the lead members support the bid? Well, for me, it would be a nonsense if the lead members are turning up with the directors and the lead members aren't supporting the bid. So in first time round last year, I took it as a given. I will collate all of the signatories against each template, but just to maybe cut through that line of questioning, you can ask, of course, the lead members are here to say what, obviously speak from their own mouths, but this is a process that's developed through the officers and the lead members. So I would be extremely surprised if a lead member saying, I am talking to a bid and I don't support it in any way. They may, of course, raise risks or issues or look for insights or observations, but the premise is that they're all supported. But I can do the belt and braces and get the signatories or the email confirmations maybe in between meetings and make them available to you if you still feel you need them. Anyway, I'll now move on to the slide deck.
That's come through, Graham.
Brilliant, thank you. That should be in full view now. Is that right?
Yep, that's in full.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're starting with adult social care over 50,000. You'll see there's a big figure, which is the total of the adult social care. So obviously you obviously have additional information that supports this within the pack. And I'll now hand over to Matt and Charles to talk to you about this.
Okay. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
No
Yes.
problem.
That's a good start. So I suppose just by way of introduction, adult social care, big budget in total, about 62 million gross budget, 52 million net of income. So although we're going to go through each of the bids one by one, growth and savings, and absolutely Charles and I will take questions. I think it would be useful to start by saying a lot of this all sits together in terms of our adult social care strategy around keeping people independent and managing demand over the next few years. We've done an awful lot of transformational work with the staff. So a lot of the growth and the savings, the special items all kind of knit together, although we're going to go through them one by one. So I'll sort of knit that together in some of the answers to the questions. Charles, do you want to say anything at this point?
No, apart from happy to take any questions. I think, just to reiterate what Graham said, basically, or maybe it was John, we obviously don't know how the next 3 months is going to be with COVID and what demands are going to be put upon us. So, there's obviously a product of a period of work basically before that, but may obviously be revised as things move on.
Okay, so without further ado, I'll move straight into bid one. So bid one is our growth trajectory and predictions for people who will need care and support in the borough year on year. So this is about growing numbers of people across all the client groups we support, whether that's learning disability, physical disability, mental health, and older people. This is obviously one big number, but there's an awful lot of working out that goes behind this in terms of analysis of numbers of people who needs our support, what type of support they need, what that support might cost. There's lots and lots of work that goes into that and looking at our trajectory of growth. And most of our savings that comes later are against this growth. This is gross growth. If we do nothing, this is what we think will happen. And I guess generally what we're seeing is more people needing adult social care support, as we would expect from demographic predictions. But the other other element of that the council is experiencing, along with many other councils, is the fact that when people are coming to us, they are coming to us in more need. So not only more people, but people in greater need. So that kind of average cost of support for people is creeping up in line with that. So I think that's all I'll say in terms of way of introduction, but I'm more than happy to take any questions on that.
All I was going to add to that very quickly for the benefit of members is if we stand still in adult social care, our bills go up 4% a year, basically just to stand still. And that's what you can largely see in these numbers. Greater complexity, greater numbers, greater difficulty, basically reflected there.
And Chairman, what I will do, so as Graham Ebers here, I'll run through this savings and complete adult social care and then stop for questions. Is that okay, Guy?
That's fine by me.
Okay, so straight on to savings, and as you see, some substantial savings figures this year, because we have just formed our adult social care transformation plan on the back of our strategy that was signed off about 6 months ago. So first savings line is around Optalis review, and that's a number of things that's building that up. So it's a reduction in our contract price to Optalis. It's not about cutting of frontline services at all, but it is about reducing overhead costs. We've agreed a more favourable share for Wokingham around that with our partners in RBWM, about improved commissioning and also that efficiency within that contract. Those are all agreed with Optalis. We have a good track record of delivering against that this year. I'm kind of confident that we'll achieve those numbers. They're all agreed. Second line is around demand management. So that is about implementing our adult social care strategy against the growth figures that we just talked about. Now, we've done an awful lot of transformational work with the staff, with a kind of sector leader in this work, an organisation called Empower. We did a 3-month discovery phase bit of work. We've identified where we've got demand that we can influence. So that's either keeping people independent for longer, preventing or delaying them needing to come to us, or using new ways of delivering care, more modern ways of delivering care, using technology, that sort of thing, to reduce the care that people is required. And that programme is ongoing and being implemented now. And those are our efficiency figures against demand for that. Bit number 5 is about making sure that we are representing people who need money from health, continuing healthcare fund money, and making sure those people are getting funded appropriately through our local healthcare system, so that financial burden doesn't fall onto us. Therefore, that's an efficiency against growth. And then the bottom line is about recommissioning some old learning disability services, residential services, and getting people into what's called supported living, and that reduces overall costs of that support and gives people a more independent life away from residential care. And that's the bottom line there. Okay, that gives you a kind of overview of our efficiencies and growth. So as Graham requested, I think we should go to the questions. Who's going to manage the order of the questions? Is that me or Guy? You going to do that? Good. I was just thinking. Here we go. The hands are all going up.
Yeah. Okay. So if anyone wants to ask a question on this, please start raising your hands now. Parry, I can see your hand shot up. Is that a question, or do you want to make a comment as an executive member?
Chairman, I think it's just a comment. The first column, if you like, it says last year MTFP. It says 2021, 2022. And I think that should read 2020, 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
No. I think what that's saying is this is what we had in last year's MTFP for 2021, 22. And what we're saying is the next column is our revised figure and our proposals as we've revised it in year this year. You see what I mean? Graham, is that right?
Yes, and Chairman, just for the benefit of the audience, we're using the same approach all the way through as we go through adult social care, place and growth, and then to the next meetings. We felt it was an important discipline to set out what we agreed in February this year. So in February this year, we agreed a budget for 2021, but also an indicative for 21, 22, and indeed 22, 23. So just to hold ourselves to account, we're putting in that 21, 22 as a comparison so you can see the degree to which it's changed now that we're recasting the 21, 22 budget.
I actually really like that, because effectively what it's doing is it's giving us, in this case, column 4 from last year in column 1, as it were. So I really like that, because it's giving us a comparison about how we're doing with the budget for last year. So that's a very good change. I like that.
It's intended to show what we thought. So when we set the budget last time, this was year 2. 21-22 was year 2. Is now become year 1. So we're now comparing our new year 1, which is 21-22, with what we thought it would be last time we set the budget. So it allows us to question why that changed, why has it gone up so much, why have our thoughts changed so much between February 21 this year when we set the budget and now we're refreshing that particular column.
Thank you for that clarification.
That makes sense. Thank you, Graham. Emma, I can see your hands up.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Graham. Right, again, I absolutely agree with Guy. I think this is very good. It's very clear. Can I just ask one question about column 6? It says better use of accommodation. Could you just explain that to me? Because with the population getting a bit older in the borough, I'm a bit confused. Sorry, it's probably me.
You mean bid 6, the learning disability review bid? Right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So we have a number of services for people with a learning disability.
Yeah.
That are residential services, and they tend to be quite expensive, and that's where expensive and are also for people with learning disability. They're quite an old mode of service delivery. So that's where you have the council pays for people in registered residential care for both their care and support and their hotel costs and everything. Most people with learning disability now live in what's called supported living, where we pay for the care and support, but they get access to housing, and that's paid through housing benefit, that sort of thing. So this is about moving some more of those properties from that old style to a new style. Therefore, it slightly reduces the cost to us and gives people a more independent life because they get their own tenancy and their own rights around that, which they don't have in residential care. That's all.
That's all I want to know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Abdul, I can see your hands just shut up.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Abdul.
On your part 2, when you start with bid 1, I'd just like to see that. I'd like to know what the difference is. 62 million expensive and 52 million net income. So this 10 million, can you give us a little bit more details how this arrived? The difference?
Oh, what between the 62 gross and the 52 net?
Yes.
That I said in my intro. Yes. So income comes from charging people. Most income comes. Some of it comes from grants that we get, but most of it comes from the charges that we charge people for their adult social care.
Okay.
Their fees and charges.
So if we have more resident coming year, how do you analyze this? I just want to know between the income from the grant and from our own resident. How do you analyze these figures?
How do we arrive at the growth figures there?
Growth figure, yeah. Thank you.
So we look at the net cost of individual by care setting. So all different care settings, all different costs. We look at the average of those costs, and then we look at what's happened over time with those costs, what we think then is going to be our projection for the next year, and then we look at the numbers of those people that are coming through and the types of care that they want, and then we build a really big spreadsheet, and then we model it, and that generates this number. Essentially, that's how that works.
Okay, I might have to come back. Thank you, Guy.
Okay.
Thank you. Shirley.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. One on the item demand management.
Yeah.
I've read through the papers on that, and my understanding of that is these would be services which you might buy in from the charitable sector or from somewhere out there in the community. do you think there may be an impact on some of those particular community groups and charities because of COVID? I know that certainly charity groups and community groups that I've been involved in recently are all struggling because of lack of fundraising, and there's a danger that some of these groups might actually go to the wall because they haven't got the funds to keep going. And has that been factored into your plans? That's question one. And the second question, also to do with demand management, it says here there's an additional staffing resource to deliver demand management of £500,000. Demand management is producing a saving of £1 million.
Yeah.
In my head, and I'm not good at figures, that to me that says that the saving's actually only going to be £500,000 because the staffing costs are £500,000. Or
sure.
Am I missing something?
Okay. So I'll answer question one. Has the COVID effect on the voluntary sector been factored in to what we're doing? So I'd say yes. We've got a new voluntary sector strategy. We've got a lot of infrastructure around the voluntary sector. We're working very closely. We work very closely through the COVID effort. We've put some additional money into support specifically with Involve around paying for some staff in there to write bids for people to get money, that sort of thing. And when we get to the investment side of things, this is why I said it's all linked together. We've got more money that we're going to put into the voluntary sector year on year, and the reason for that is adult social care tends to spend in a crisis, but the more we invest in our voluntary sector to support people, the more independent and longer those people are well, and that helps us manage demand against those figures before. So I wouldn't want to rush over what you say really, because I think you raise a good risk. The effect of COVID on the voluntary sector and its dip in its being able to get funds in voluntary raise funds is an issue and a risk that we'll have to monitor going forward. But our voluntary sector have been absolutely fabulous locally. I know they've got much the same strain as everyone else. So in terms of the demand management million reduction, and you said there's some additional staffing. What I would say is that the investment is one-off. So if you look at the ongoing revenue savings, so that's $1 million out, 2 million out, 3 million out, and then you add it all up. And then you look at the investment, which is one-off, so it's not forever, it's just one-off to get us through that change. The payback is about 2 years and then goes on to pay off quite well. So it's not quite as you say, which is, you're saving $1 million, but you're spending $500,000, because I'm saving that $1 million every year against demand. So it comes off, it's an ongoing saving, whereas the investment is one-off in each of the years and then will not happen. So there's a one-off investment for an ongoing saving, and that business case pays off.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that explanation. I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that's all right.
That was very concise. I like that. I see no more hands. Anyone else? Oh, Clive.
Hi, Clive. I can't hear him.
No, he's still, I'm watching his microphone, waiting for the mute light to go off. There we go, Clive.
Sorry, I'd moved. All right.
Yeah.
I was quite happy, Guy, for you to go and ask some questions, because you don't often get a chance to do that. But
if you ask a few, Clive, and I might come in. I suspect you might nick half of mine, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. Right. Number 3, Matt. Oh, sorry. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's really good to see that you've got all these efficiencies that you think that you can make.
Sure.
I asked the same question last year. Did you think you could make them? And you said yes. And the ones that we were looking at for Optilus last year were in this current financial year 400,000. So have you been able to make those savings?
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Certainly this financial year, I guess the only issue we've had this financial year with savings across the council, but also in adult social care, is obviously the effect of COVID. We've had to divert our resource onto responding, March through to July. But of the £1.7 million that we said that we were going to save, we're looking to deliver forecasting 1.5 million of those. And then last year, the year before, we hit our target on savings bang on. And Optilus specifically, yes, that 400k that's what we've been forecasting to make. That's not to say next year isn't a stretch. It is, and that's obviously about helping the council's balanced position in the round, making sure we're doing all we can. But I said yes last year, and I'm going to say yes again this year, Clive.
Okay, and the other difference between this year and last year is you've now identified another 200,000 that we can save in next year's budget.
For Optilus.
It was 500,000 last year, and it's now 700, isn't it? Which is what you've got up on the screen there. Yeah,
and all of that above that 400k original target is pretty much delivered by the fact that we went to dispute with RBWM around some central management cost split, and we were successful in that. So I'm confident that that's landed. Yeah, and I'm happy that that's been righted, as it were.
That's very good then, because whoever did that negotiation with the arbitration service and Windsor and Maidenhead obviously did a very good job. So, very good. Number 4, adult social care, number 4. In the description of the bid, you talk about some new ways of working with demand management. Can you be specific about one or two of those?
Yeah, of course. So something called strength-based working is something which is kind of a leading edge of practice in adult social care, and that's where you move a fairly traditional adult social care service, which tends to jump in when things are in crisis, and then throw services at people. Obviously, I'm being very kind of just to make a point. I'm being quite kind of simplistic about it, and strength-based working is where you invest in skilling up your staff to have better conversations with people earlier, take a bit longer at that initial stage to get a better planning around people, but that actually works out at costing the council a bit less later. So that's quite a cultural shift. My staff are just rolling out a few pilots around that now and gearing up for next year, and that's going quite successfully. But that's why part of the investment, I know we're not talking about some of the special items today, but some of that investment is to have a bit more staff for a while people get used to taking a bit more time in that new way of working. I'll have some case studies fairly soon to share with people, because I think that's a better way of seeing the benefit of it for the resident and the customer. But essentially, it's taking a bit more time with people planning and not always only waiting till it's an absolute disaster or crisis in someone's life, and then that costs more in the long run.
But these savings of £1 million a year, they are pretty big, aren't they? But you're obviously confident you can do that.
I am, yeah. I've gone for the top end of those savings. You know, I've done that on purpose because this is about making sure we manage our finances in the round. But we've been at doing the work to plan the programme and also do the work around looking at case studies and getting all the evidence around this since January. We started this, you know, at the back end of last year, which seems a long time ago, actually, given all that's happened. But you know, we had a lot of that pre-work and analysis in the can, as it were, before COVID hit. So obviously, we'll have to see what happens with the second wave, but this is our plan as we stand.
Okay, and then on the same page,
Clive, just quickly, I've got something I want to add on basically your line of questioning. You did nick half my questions. Basically, I really like what you're saying on the on item 4 with the demand management thing, Matt. One question I'd like to ask is, because of the community engagement and the voluntary sector, etc., I presume that you've taken lessons from how we have reacted to COVID back in the spring, and basically also implemented into this. And this is why you're a bit more confident on the savings. So
I am. I mean, in some ways, I mean, COVID's been a horrible thing, but there have been some transformations and opportunities that we've grabbed. And one of those is with the voluntary sector. What would have taken us probably a long time to develop working relationships and get trust between us and the voluntary sector, we've managed to do that quite quickly over a short period of time around the COVID first response. And that stands us in great stead for going forward, and valuing and using the voluntary sector much more.
Yeah.
Great, perfect. Carry on, Clive.
Okay, thanks. So the paragraph about benchmarking, is this suggesting that less people are contacting us for adult social, not contacting us, contacting this London borough who have saved 4 million quid? Less people are contacting.
Oh, I see.
Are we expecting the same to happen here? Are we expecting less people, or are we expecting them to go to the voluntary sector?
Well, I think the short answer of that is yes, but I think the way we've got some more work to do about that first touch point or front door, because I see it as a combined kind of front door effort. But what happens there is, if you think about it, there might be 100 people that come along to that front door. What we're trying to do is get as many of those people connected to voluntary sector organisations and getting support from the voluntary sector as we possibly can, rather than them going straight into formal adult social care services, if you see what I mean. So it's not about us pulling up the drawbridge and saying don't contact us, almost quite the reverse. We might actually have more contacts, but it's about getting people connected with those community supports rather than waiting till they've got into a crisis and passported straight through to formal social care services, like, you know, checking into a home or something like that. So it's a sort of a yes and a no answer, that one, I'm afraid.
Okay, and then number 5. The only question I got there is, last year we were saying we were going to save £250,000.
Yep.
Have we achieved it?
For continuing healthcare, yes. Yeah, we have.
We did.
And this is just a continuation of that.
Yeah.
Although the kind of low-hanging fruit in that area has we've picked. That's why the numbers have gone down.
Yeah.
Sort of leveled out a bit.
So we put another couple of 100,000 in there, but that's for years ahead. Years ahead, isn't it? So, and the last one, number 6. Just bear with me a minute.
I should have the countdown theme going.
you should.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Clive's doing this just for kind of theatre.
Oh no, no, I don't do that.
No.
So, did we make the 100,000 of savings last year that we were expected?
Yes, commission savings. Yes.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I mean, I'll refer to what previous. It was COVID has made that difficult, because we've had to catch up, but we are.
Yeah, you said that we were on track to make it last year anyway, so sometimes you said we did. And then in 2018-19, we spent 42.7 million on adult social care. I got that from last year's paper. What was it in 2019-20? Do you know? Or maybe
off the top of my head, I don't know. If you just
give us that at a later date.
I can give you that in a later date. I think some of the issues is that the department has grown and changed, so there's some moving parts. That's why sometimes the numbers go up and down. But I can give you, if what you're asking is what's the overall net investment in adult social care going year on year, I can. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes. Yeah.
I can give you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And see how that's going.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's it for the time being.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for any questions on this bit?
If no questions, Guy, I would just a comment is Clive was right to point out the fantastic work that's gone on in levering much more cost-effective management overhead with regard to Optilis and our heightened negotiations with RBWM. And I think Matt was being quite modest in when Clive said that. Matt, Sean O'Connor, our legal advisor, and Stuart Taylor, who is the accountancy support to Matt, they've done a sterling job on that, and it's taken well over a year to achieve.
I echo that. Some good work done there.
Can I just go a bit further than the finance? I know we're not supposed to, but the majority of the strain that COVID's put on the council has gone through Matt's team, and I'd just like to say thank you to him for all the work he's put in. I'm sure his early intervention with care homes probably saved many lives as well. So I'd just like to put it on record to thank Matt for all his efforts.
Yeah.
I think you have this entire committee support in that. Especially there was an article in, I believe I can't remember where I read it this morning, where effectively it was complaining that someone died because they were sent to a care home and they hadn't been tested, and it then spread through the care home. It wasn't us, it was somewhere else in the country, but I did see that today. So it's a testament to basically taking things a preventative measure and doing things a lot more smarter rather than reacting to where we are. And I think Matt is a exemplar of doing that with everything that he's done. And he's turned the camera off, so I hope he's blushing.
Yeah. A little bit.
Okay.
But thank you. I mean, it does not just for me. Those words go a long way to keep morale up in adult social care, and I'm going to need everybody to, rise to the winter challenge. And so that's really helpful. So thank you.
Well, that answers the unanswered question of what do you need from us? That I always ask at the end of these sessions, which is in that case, it's the support of the members here. So anything you need, Matt, I'm certain one of us can help in some way. We all have unique skills in our different ways.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Clive, your hand shot back up.
Yes, I got some other questions. So in last,
are we on adult social care?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, keep going then.
Yeah. We have in last year's papers a review of existing care packages. and we were supposed to be making a saving of 250,000 in
Yeah,
this current year.
yeah,
I guess we've done that.
we've done that, and essentially that kind of review of existing care packages to see if we can do them more efficiently and effectively for individuals moves into the demand management line next year. That's part, you know, the continuation of some of that work sits in that million.
Oh, that answers the next question then, because in last year there was 250,000 for next year, and that's in quid.
Yeah, if you think about demand management as either delaying people's need for formal social care, preventing it, or reducing and reviewing it, those three elements are sort of drive that £1 million. And what you're talking about is review and reduce.
Yeah. And last year, social care grants, we were expecting a saving of 400,000.
Yeah.
So
that's in my 1.5 of the 1.7. Yeah, that's in there as well. That's another line. So
that was going to be the next question, because you made a comment last year that you're expecting probably to be able to save that 400 grand every year.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And the adult social care redesigning of the pathway redesign last year, that was going to save £300,000.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Made that. And again, that pathway redesign is about doing things more efficiently, connecting to the voluntary sector and the front door. So again, that moves into the demand management line, and we supercharge it. See what I mean from an efficiency point of view?
Yeah. So the 400,000 that was in for the coming year, 21-22, is in that £1 million.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Rather than discrete projects, it's a transformation program.
Yeah. And then all the other questions I've got here are all on special items, and we're not doing those tonight. So thank you very much, Matt.
Okay.
Really efficient and very good answers as ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Matt. And I was about to remind you on the special items, Clive, especially as I saw one in there which said, member not briefed as of 20th of July. So I think they might be a little out of date.
There you are. You took one of my questions, Guy.
Okay, Shirley, I see your hand shut up.
Yeah, sorry, I think I was going to ask something that's on a special item as well. I was getting ahead of myself, so I apologise. We're going to get an opportunity to speak about, to discuss those in a future meeting.
Special items are, is that December or January?
It'll be Dan.
Time.
So sorry, it's sooner than January. November or December?
November.
Yeah,
November. Okay. My brain's a little lost on that one.
I'll keep that question. I'll keep the questions simmering until then.
Yeah, no problem. Clive, I presume you've just left your hand up.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No worries. Does anyone else have anything on healthcare, adult social care? No? Okay, so I think we can move on to the next set of items, Graham, with your slide. So, Pauline.
Guy, can I just ask you, can we release the once they've finished? Because there's no point in them sitting around and just listening to. Okay.
Indeed. Yeah, I've got no issues with that. So, Matt, Charles, unless you want to stay, thanks very much. If there's any questions that people think of between now and the end of the meeting, we will submit them to you in writing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, Pauline, I believe, do you want to say anything to start with?
No, just, well, no, and then I'd go and say something. Just to say that the increases in here are as a result of the Volker Highways contract, which was signed in about April last year. The increases didn't happen last year. They were actually subsumed into a wider budget in Sarah Holmby's area, but it's not possible to subsume them again this year. So these increases are due to the Volkers contract. And just to remind everybody that the reason we went with Volkers because of a mixture of price and quality, and that the current incumbents refused to bid on the lower cost. So that's where we've ended up with Volkers.
Okay.
And then Pauline's saving.
Yes. So the saving in there, we're going to review car parking charges as a whole. What we want to do is make sure that we maintain the attractiveness of the town centres, but also we want to make sure that we're not filling our car parks with people that drive into the area in order to get the train somewhere. So we're going to do a complete review of the car parking charges to make sure that they reflect the actual value of the parking, especially around long stay, rather than what we have at the moment, which we think is actually in some cases underpriced, I think would be the best word. There is a risk on this, however. I mean, the position with COVID is that because we don't know which way it's going to go, it might be that the demand for parking and transport and train transport in particular, is lower than we expect. It might be higher. It depends what happens over the coming months. So there is also, although we're not talking about it tonight, there is a contingency item in the special items budget in case we get the car parking income wrong. Is that fair, Graham?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Pauline. I've tried to take a general approach whereby if we know that COVID will impact on 21-22 and we think that will be a temporary position, I guess we must assume that on, well, let's say it's not unreasonable to assume that if, say, a vaccine may be present in 2021. So therefore, it will be a temporary blip, and I've tried to deal with temporary blips as a special item, which is a one-off call from balances, as opposed to hardwiring that as a charge against the council taxpayer. So yeah, absolutely right, Pauline. I've used that, or we've used that approach in car parking charges.
Yeah.
I'll now. Should we guide to all of place and growth? And
Yeah, we might as well, because I was just looking at the paper, and it's a bit higgledy-piggledy due to the inputting of like grass cutting, green waste charges and things like that as well.
Yeah, yes, it's also place and growth divides across 3 councillors.
Yeah, indeed.
Unlike adult social care that neatly sits with 1 councillor. So now this is Parry's, and I'll show Parry's growth and then Parry's savings.
Harry, do you want to come in and say anything?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Graham. Yeah, we've got 2 growth items under place and growth. The first one is relating to the Townley Depot. We used to receive income from the previous contractor, CETA, and because they paid us for the use of the facilities at the Townley Depot, and the second one is the growth item. That's due to the extra resource needed to deliver the waterproof recycling bags, which will be introduced early next year. And those are the only 2 items really that relate to the growth. And we'll move on to the savings and the increased cost of the garden waste bins, which is the green bags. There is a small increase in the charges we'll make. It goes from
you mean brown bins, Parry? We haven't had the green bags in a long time.
I beg your pardon, brown bins. I beg your pardon. I haven't got colourblind just yet, but yeah, brown bins. the cost will increase by £5 from £60 to £65. So that will bring in the additional income there. There will be also the additional recycling that will be possible due to the capacity of the green bags now, which I get that right, which will be introduced. And so that was savings to be made from the recycling there. There's been almost a 50% increase from the current year for the garden waste bins, and I think that's possibly related to the COVID pandemic. And it is anticipated that half of the new customers will keep the garden bins that they've ordered, and therefore additional income stream from there. And last but not least, we're also proposing small increase in the parking charges and the fishing permits at both the country parks, which is Denton and California Park. So those are the income streams that will be savings.
Then the residual item on place and growth. Sorry, Parry, had you finished?
Yes.
Yeah. So the residual item on place and growth then is just the 50k that I referred to previously. So, Guy, I'll hand it back to you now.
Okay. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Graham. Any questions, please put your hand up. I can see that Alison's has shot up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Parry, how long that our garden waste for brown bins have been £60? Because I've always had one, found them incredibly useful. And I'm feeling that they've been £60 for a long time. How many years is it?
Yes, they have been there for a while now. I believe they were introduced in April of last year.
No, they've been around for a very long time.
Oh, the bins,
mine's got a lot of stickers.
Well, it may have been a little bit earlier. I can get the exact date for you.
6 years.
But they have been there for a while.
Yeah, 6 years, Parry.
Oh gosh, thank you. My apologies.
And I comment about time flying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's about time we put up a small chart there.
Yeah, I mean, percentage-wise, that's what, about 8.5%, is it?
According to the internet, they were introduced in 2012.
Oh gosh, thank you.
And I think the fees have remained unchanged looking at this.
They have.
So a £5 increase after 8 years.
It's not bad. Well, yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
So, Parry, do you think there's any risk in the prediction of additional recycling from moving to the bags? That we're anticipating £98,000 every year. How confident are you in that figure?
I think these relate primarily to the additional recycling that will be able to utilize the bigger bags than the black boxes, and that's the basis for the calculation, and that's reasonably accurate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Would you like me to add to that, Chair? Sorry. Hello.
Yes, please. Yes.
Hello. Sorry, I kept putting my hand up.
No worries.
Chris Trail, I know many of you met me, but not everybody's met me. I'm director. I'm the relatively recent director of Place and Growth. Alison, it's a good question, but I equally think it's part of our ongoing strategy to gradually increase the capacity around that for our recycling rate, and that gives the customer and our community that added bonus of additional capacity, moving towards the wider trajectory around our waste strategy generally. And the other question about the increased cost around our garden waste bins, absolutely spot on. We've benchmarked some of that. It's a popular service. What's not to like? but equally that the increase in cost has been minimal over a period of time, and we benchmark that against other authorities. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, Alison?
No, thank you very much. That's all for me at the moment.
Okay. I'm going to go to Caroline next.
Hello, good evening. It's a question for Pauline. When she was talking about parking charges and she's going to review, will she include the Woking Business Association retailers when she does this review?
We will consult widely when we do the review. Yeah, we've got to take into account both the need to make sure that our car parking is sensible and does deliver the income, but also to make sure that we don't damage businesses. And to be honest, it's not just Woking and Caroline; it affects all the other towns in the borough. So we also need to be fair and equitable between the towns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Have you got anything else? Nope, your hand's gone down. I saw Shirley's hand up and then it's disappeared.
I don't know why it's disappeared.
Yeah, Shirley, go ahead.
Now?
Yeah, it's up again. I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, has the question been asked?
Thank you, Guy. No. Also on the subject of brown bins, the increase on brown bins, I did a bit of research on brown bins and looked at what other councils charged and so on. And we are a bit more expensive than most, but that's not the issue here. What I was interested to see was that a number of other neighbouring councils offer a reduction for people who are in receipt of council tax rebate, and I thought about this and I thought, actually, if there was a way of getting people to, people who might be thinking, well, I can't really afford that, I'm on a limited income, I can't afford £65 a year, but if we were to offer the bin to those people for sort of £45 a year or £40 a year, they might take it up, and that might have the good effect of that would be that it would increase our recycling rate across the borough. And I wondered if there had been any consideration given to allowing people who were in receipt of council tax reduction a reduction on the cost of the brown bin.
Perry, would you like me to answer that?
Please, yeah, thank you.
So on the back of that, Shirley, really nice to meet you. Absolutely, I think it's really important that we look across the whole spectrum of getting people into the habit of doing that. So I think you're right, we don't want to exclude particular groups. And equally on the back of that is how we can actually get longevity of people buying into that. So not just about groups that maybe want to access on price, but equally people who can access in terms of being able to continue to pay over a continuous period of time, not just over 1 year. So I think the flexibility around that is absolutely essential. Just getting people into the mindset of that's what I always do. So whoever it is, that's what we want to access.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'd like to see that because we do want to encourage more people to recycle everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say on that one, maybe the better approach to this, Chris, would be maybe looking at a payment on a monthly basis rather than a one lump sum, which would, when you split 60 quid over 12 months, it's a relatively small amount of money, and maybe that's something that we could collect on a monthly basis, which would make it more affordable for people.
Completely agree, John.
The other thing, John, actually, is we should encourage more people to share them. There's nothing to stop neighbours sharing them, and that reduces the cost a lot. And I think quite a few people don't think about that.
Yeah. No, that's another good idea.
Anything else, Shirley? Nope.
Not at the moment, thanks, Guy.
No worries, thank you. Yeah, it also, of course, it all depends on the size of your garden, because of one of the bins is completely useless for my garden. The brown bags, however, are a different one. Paul.
Thank you, Guy.
Is it going to be on highways?
Yes.
Fine. Fire away.
Well, actually, my first question was actually about the green waste bins, and Shirley's actually asked my question, and I was going to suggest about offering it over 10 months in line with council tax, on how council tax is paid, and do it over 10 months.
Tax at 12 as well.
You know, £6 a month. It's a lot easier to pay. But just on that, the cost increase, is that down to the contractor costs increasing as well?
At the moment, we've just tried to relate it back to our costs, to be fair, Paul, and I understand the point where you're going. We've had a lot of cooperation from the contractor around this, particularly around some of the movements that have happened this year. So no, this is actually to enable income into the council.
Okay, so on that, there's bound to be some contractor costs increasing over the 3-year period, but you're not showing any additional charges in year 3.
No, not at this point in time. To be fair, as you're quite rightly saying, is that we're working on a daily basis with the contractor, and do bear in mind all the things that we said about during the period of COVID and the increased waste that is coming through the contractor. We're not projecting those at this point in time because we've got a lot of goodwill from the contractor around that, and they're able to swallow some of those costs. So I would say so far so good, but it is a moving feast, knowing that the state of the industry, as you know, is ever changing spectrum.
It's good to hear that the contractor's swallowing some of those costs, which is excellent, not passing on to the council.
The only thing I would say, Paul, is obviously at the moment with people's under pressure financially, and making a commitment to go to £5 is not a great increase, but we can always review it if we find the economy gets a upturn and things all get back to normal. Maybe we might need to look at it in light of that, but at this moment in time it's very difficult to put any increase to the residents until we know where everything's going.
Sure. Okay, I was just thinking of the potential increase in costs really from a contractor point of view further down the line, because but it's good to hear that the contractor is swallowing some of those increased costs. On page 18, revenue drainage budget, you're looking at an increase of 210,000, and you say 1920 has been covered by underspends from elsewhere. But how is 2020-21 coping with no increase in this financial year, and then you've got no further increases beyond your 21-22?
Yeah, I asked the same question, Paul, when I first looked at the budget. I'm assured that they will look for efficiency savings within the service.
For this year? For this year?
No,
what, sorry?
No, that's
for next year.
For this year. That's correct. Sorry, Pauline, that's correct. Yes. So far manageable in this year.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got this one.
And it's the same also, Paul, before to preempt your next question, it's the same for the highways mileage. So we've got an increasing mileage of highways each year, and they're saying they will swallow that through efficiencies.
That was going to be one of my questions, because there is a big impact coming along the track or the road, because you've got the new road networks coming on stream. Example, Winners Relief Road, Arborfield Bypass, North Wokingham Distribution Road, new adopted roads within all these developments. And that's going to add to the asset. And how's that going to be covered by that budget with no further increase?
I asked the same question. I think there's two things to bear in mind. Firstly, that they're planning to swallow that cost within the cost that they've got looking for efficiencies. Secondly, remember, when you've got new roads, the maintenance to start off with is relatively low because the assets are good, and the assets are also under warranty for a period. So the sort of breakdown of road assets becomes worse over time. So I wouldn't expect the next year's highways cost of this year's road to be significant. It will be as time goes on. 20 years time, different story, I think.
You'll still have the likes of gully cleansing
Yes, absolutely.
And
I would say, Paul, that when we negotiate S106 or SIL, that tends to come with an element of maintenance as well.
Yeah.
So when we adopt a road, it normally carries quite a big price tag for that person who's built that road. It's normally to cover the maintenance of a period of 5 to 10 years.
And there is the warranty period as well, John.
Yeah, I know you've got your warranty period, but you'll still have your general maintenance, which goes in because it comes out of defects.
Yeah. So
okay.
I've asked the same question and got the response that it'll be swallowed.
Okay. Quite a big pill to swallow, I think, that one.
We'll see, won't we?
The other Berkshire authorities have a revenue drainage budget in excess of 800,000, despite having smaller highway drainage networks to manage. And it seems to indicate on page 19 the budget is 543,543. Is that correct?
I am not looking at the same pages as you are. Sorry.
There's a very neat table, which is very helpful, actually. Whoever put that together, thank you very much. It indicates the number of pumps and grills and balancing ponds.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Gullies, 40,000 gullies, and about through just over halfway down, it's got available budget 543,543. If that's correct, and other authorities are on 800,000, that's about 38% lower. That's quite an incredible amount lower.
I don't know. I don't run other people's highways departments.
Yeah, I'd like to think we've got it right and they've got it wrong.
So do I.
But you say that, John, but you're struggling because the new contractor costs are showing you need 210,000, which would bring it close to the 800,000.
So, Paul, you can't criticise us on one hand for being more cost effective than our neighbours, and then on the other hand criticise us for increasing the cost.
I'm not criticising the cost, Pauline. I think
we should be looking to provide an excellent service.
I think the existing budget was too low.
Last year's budget was definitely too low.
Because your new contractors' costs are showing you the real costs.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
So Paul, last year, as I said at the beginning, the extra the budget actually overspent, but Sarah Hollenby found money elsewhere in her budget, not in highways, to pay for that. And this year we put in an increase because we didn't think that was tenable going forward. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Pauline, does that increase you put in there reflect what the full amount that the increase was?
What, sorry?
But you've said that they found money from elsewhere, but you put an extra 210 in as a growth number.
That's right.
Does that reflect that overspend?
I believe so, but I think Sarah would have to confirm.
That's right. This is Chris, yes.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
No worries, that's okay.
It was Sarah last
year. Don't worry, Pauline. We're interchangeable.
So that still gives me concern with going forward that 210 is not enough. And
but we'll
probably need more.
We will. Time will tell, Paul.
Yeah.
My view on budgets generally is if you make them larger, people spend them. We've got a responsibility to the taxpayer. We need to provide good services, but we also need to push people to do the best value for money that we can.
Fully agree with that. I don't have any issue with that. It's just the size of the asset that needs maintaining.
Yeah.
And that
we'll see next year.
That asset is growing. And I just raised concern that budget is not large enough going forward. Yeah, for the
You're talking about next year.
The 210, yes, but I think you probably need more. If I can move on to page 20, reactive maintenance service delivery, 600,000 increase. The highway asset will increase over the next few years again with new roads. Are you really sure that that's going to be sufficient?
That was the same question as I've asked, and I've been assured that it is.
Right. Because after 1 year of the new highway contracts, it's become quite clear that the costs for the provision of the new contractor are
It's exactly
high.
the same point, Paul. It's exactly the same point. Didn't put the growth in last year.
Paul, I appreciate it as a new contract, but to be fair, Pauline's point is correct that we've taken some analysis and we did swallow some costs this year. And equally, we've been able to use not just the reactive maintenance, but other ways that we can draw in money to make this happen. But we continue to monitor it, and it's been good to be able to actually bring some good news to communities around that, to be able to improve a number of roads during this year. But we'll continue to monitor. I agree with Pauline.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have done an awful lot of highways maintenance this year.
It appears though the real costs of this contract were not probably accounted for correctly at the beginning, because your budget was too low for it.
Yeah, but the total cost was covered within the total council budget. So in effect, what you did was got a better value for the taxpayer than if you'd added it in last year and actually spent more.
Well, you only spend it as and when you need it because it's reactive.
Yes, so if we'd increased it last year and not found the savings from elsewhere, we would have increased council tax and we wouldn't have spent it.
But it's a reactive revenue budget, so
I know.
So
the reaction is based on an estimate of the amount of demand. Last year, we managed to fulfil the demand without an increase. This year, because we found the savings elsewhere, and I think they were in planning actually, this year we have decided that we don't think it's sensible or tenable to continue to make the savings elsewhere, and that's why we've put an increase in.
And my understanding as well is that was a review
I don't
period.
disagree with the increase, Pauline. I don't disagree with the increase at all. What I'm saying is that when the contract was analysed, it was not analysed for real costs coming into this, and therefore that's too low.
Yeah,
I'll move
2020
on, because you probably say the same thing to me. It states also the reactive revenue budgets have therefore been significantly reduced, limited our ability to undertake all the works required. So there's actually been a reduction in the service.
I don't think there has.
So you can budget for it. It states that. It states that.
I'll
move on. I'll move on.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. It says if we only had 300,000 as opposed
That's
to 600,000 we're asking for, we would have to reduce the service. We're asking for 600,000, so we don't reduce the service.
Pauline is correct. We were asked to consider all the options, and what is the figure is in front of us. There is we made sure that we had an accurate estimate. If we had to reduce, it would have been the 300,000 figure. So we made an assessment of what was needed, and also the point about the analysis during the year. Yes, we were able to swallow some historical costs, but this is where we are now in terms of these are real costs coming through, and there was no desire to, in anybody's words, to skimp on that to make sure we had the real reactive costs.
So I would certainly not support
and I think 600,000 is the right figure.
Good, we agree then.
I'm not knocking that. The 600,000 is the right figure. It's anything less than that, you're not going to be covering what you really need it for, and therefore there'll be a reduction in the service.
Good, we agree.
So the 300k was actually to illustrate that we hadn't opted for that. It was to be fair, we were all making an assessment of options to make sure if money was tight that we would be able to go to that, but that would be the opportunity cost, and it's helpful to inform for members generally that actually this is where we haven't then reduced that availability, which is something that is a universal service. The other point, just to cover that Pauline has covered about the contract, which I do agree, is it's very much an exploratory year, and your comments about the assessing it at the start of the contract. I think we have to remember where we started from with the previous contractor, where we weren't actually absorbing and recognising all those costs, Paul, and I think you would know that historically. I know I wasn't here, but I think what we've got now is there are additional costs here, but we are actually really recognising what our highway network costs and the quality that is needed for that. And the previous contractor didn't bid for this contract. So this is where we are. We know the true value of what we want to be able to continue to maintain a high standard.
Yeah, so it's more accurate data that you now picking up, and what that real cost of that is.
Because Paul, remember the Volker's contract started in April last year?
Yes.
Like you said yourself, it's a demand-driven contract.
Yeah.
We've now run a year of it, this is what it costs.
Yeah, it's you know the real reality of those
Yeah,
costs because you've got better, more accurate data. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So on page 21, I think it's probably might be Parry, this one. Lost income from Townley Depot due to the new Veolia contract commencing and Suez commercial contract coming to an end. There's a lost income of 320. Was that taken into account when the contract was let? And therefore, why wasn't it built into the 3-year budget profile last year?
I lost some of those words when you...
Oh, sorry, Parry.
Yeah.
So on page 21, lost income from Townley Depot due to the new Veolia contract commencing and Suez commercial contract coming to an end. The lost income is 320,000. So why wasn't that taken into account when letting the contract, and therefore it would show up in the 3-year MTFP budget last year?
Historically, Paul, as you know, CETA used to pay us for using the facilities at Townley, and that was stopped when the contract finished. And we know from our own intelligence gathering that if we asked the other contractors, the new contractors, to pay, they would just add additional costs to the contract. So that was historically the reason for leaving it like that. In other words, we were going to give them free access to the facilities. Otherwise, the contract costs would have gone up if we had asked them to pay for the facilities. And that is really the history behind. But we did lose the income from CETA.
I understand that, Parry, because that's a bit like Peter paying Paul to pay Mary. But you would have known that there was this lost income this time last year. So why wasn't it on the 24 forecast for the 21-22 financial year? Because it shows as a 0.
Paul, to be fair, I think to be fair, I wasn't here, and just to answer some of that is, I think some of that would have been absorbed into last year's budgeting, but I think this is going forward. This is to resolve the bottom line for all of those contracts, not just for the Veolia one, but also, as you can see, it says in the line there about Volker Highways, which we were just covering. And with Volker, it was written into that agreement. I think it was written in with Veolia, but we've absorbed some of that in the first year, and this is about to take this forward in the bottom line, going into the budget line on an ongoing basis. So I think it would have been negotiated on that basis, although I wasn't here, that was the whole round cost, but now going forward that we need to be able to make sure we can absorb that and have that contract and partnership arrangement with all those partners operating from the same base.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question on the page as well? Do you mind, Paul?
Yeah, jump in.
Well, it's me that needs to give it, but go ahead, Clive.
Oh, sorry, Guy.
He said Guy Paul.
I'm used to Clive asking me. So it's okay. Sorry,
I'm the chair. I was actually going to ask you to let someone else come in, Paul, but if Clive's jumped in, ask a couple of questions. Ask a couple of questions, Clive, and then we'll go. We'll let Shirley come in, and then we'll go back to you if that's all right, Paul.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so on this same subject of Townley Road, how long is the new contract?
Sorry, which one? Which contract? Because if you see this, sorry, the asterisk above, it says the Volker Highways contract. So, sorry, maybe I didn't explain that clearly. We've got a cluster of partners, which I think is good at Townley Depot. So we've got Veolia and we've got Volker. So that these are the different operatives all operating together at that site. And we've obviously got the CETA one coming to an end.
What's the average length of the contracts? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
from memory, I think, forgive me, I think from memory, I think it's 7 years for
I think it's 7 as well, Chris.
Yeah.
7.
But we can get that to you. Sorry, I hadn't got that in front of me.
I'm pretty sure it is 7, Chris.
Yeah.
That's fine, because that means that I know you've given an explanation, Perry, but I think that actually what's happened here is we missed this income that we were getting, and I think I'd like you, Chris, to have a closer look at this and see if we did actually miss it, because if we've lost 7 years of £300,000, that's nearly 2 million quid that we've lost because nobody saw that we were getting income from the people.
I think that's a fair question, but as far as Volkers is concerned, you have to remember that the previous incumbent didn't bid. So it wasn't like we took Volker because they were cheaper and then missed some income. The previous incumbent didn't bid in terms of highways.
Yeah, but you said that we went to Volker. I think your words were for quality and price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't compare a price for something that somebody won't sell you with a price for something that somebody will sell you. So the reason the previous incumbent didn't bid, one presumes, is because they were actually making a loss on it, because they didn't want to continue at the same price.
So I think Pauline's point is quite right. They were no longer affordable. Yeah. And so we haven't lost any income because they couldn't afford to continue to deliver that contract. I appreciate, Clive, I wasn't here, but my understanding is that, and I'm more than happy. I have a bit of a sharp pencil around contractual arrangements, but I think we are in a new world with the Volker contract where we're actually able to deliver, as Pauline says, quality, but actually the price is realistic and translates through to what actually we can deliver on the ground, which we weren't able to do with the previous incumbent because they were losing money. So somebody somewhere was losing money.
Clive, it was always a bit of a fallacy, because what used to happen was they used to pay us 320 grand. They'd then put it into they'd then charge us that 320 grand, put their 9% margin on top. So it was just a fallacy that we were getting that as an actual amount of money. It was a line in the accounts, but it was still a cost to us because it turned up in their costs. And I expect that's probably why they didn't want to quote again.
So it really, from the sounds of things, then it really was stealing from Peter to feed Paul.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
A pass-through cost that also had a margin put onto it.
Yeah.
So it's actually, in reality, if this had a major margin on it, then this is actually a saving in the longer run.
I hate to say it, you're right, Guy. It is a saving.
You might be right that it's a saving, but we were paying too much in the previous years if we were allowing them.
Well, we weren't, Clive, because previously the previous incumbent wouldn't bid.
No, but
we still paid them 300. Well, whatever.
Yeah, you are right, but look, we're not Doctor Who, and we can't go back and do anything about it, unfortunately.
If that was the case, can I go back and check last night's lottery numbers?
I wonder what that long scarf was, John. So if I go on to number 19, so when will we need some more plastic Hessian bags? Because we bought some.
The delivery of the bags.
Next year's budget, when are we going to need some more? Because we haven't got any expenditure for them in the next few years.
What we factored in around them is the longevity of the existing bags, and equally what we've briefed about this, that we've got sufficient amounts that we've ordered for this time, and the rollout that will go out through the end of this year and the beginning of next year. In addition to that, we've the capacity that we've identified around the increased income is that we should be able to manage that within existing budgets, and we've run that a few times around the figures. Certainly at the moment as well, we've had an increased buoyancy around recycling, so we should be able to manage that with an existing budget portfolio.
Right. So you're going to buy them through other budgets. You didn't. Yeah.
Don't forget as well, Clive, like we said, the longevity of these bags, as we predicted. But yes, we believe. Pardon?
The bags are about 5 years.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have a contingency about that as well, which has been factored into the business case that we presented.
Right. Okay. I just would have thought that. So we've bought enough to give everybody 2 now, or in December and January, and then if somebody says that they want a further 2, we've got enough. You know, if 10,000 houses say they want a further 2, we've got 20,000 spare for that. And then if any tear or come apart because of misuse or whatever over the next 3 or 4 years, we've got enough to cope with that. We don't need to buy any more.
The modelling around that, if you remember, Clive, would be the same as to whether it was the boxes. And the boxes have less capacity and actually less longevity. So bear in mind we've budgeted around that. So we've got increased capacity and increased longevity.
Okay. And number 29, how many brown bins do we have at the moment? How many have we got out with the residents? Is it about 13 or 14,000?
I don't know the exact number, Clive. I can take that with you on offline.
Okay. The increase this year has been about 2,000, hasn't it, or something like that?
I seem to recall that press release.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to number 35, which is also about the garden waste bins. If we've had an increase of 2,000, we think that 1,000 households are going to say no, we don't want it this year.
Well, we're predicting that at least 50% of them will carry on using them, but it may be more. It's difficult to tell at this moment, but from experience, I know that they have become very, very popular, and everybody's wanting them. And at one stage, we were struggling to meet the demand.
Yeah, they have. That's why I really don't think that there's going to be a problem. I know some people who have been saying, I'm not going to get a brown bin because I'm not going to pay £60 a year. I don't think I should have to. They've been saying that for a few years. We've been saying to them, ours is wonderful. We use it a lot and it saves going to the tip and that sort of thing. And over the summer, these people bought a brown bin. They had to wait 5 or 6 weeks for it, but they bought it, and now they think they're fantastic. So I don't think that you're going to get any drop off at all.
I think, Clive, I'm not sure, but I think there's about 20,000 households using them across the borough.
Is it that many, John?
I think it is.
That's good. That's good.
It's been really popular.
Yeah. And then I've got a couple of questions on car park charges. Dinton Pastures, we're going to put the charges up by 10%. Didn't they have a fairly significant hike a couple of years ago, Pauline? Am I right in saying that?
Sorry, Clive, Dinton's not mine, I don't think.
No, that's Harry's actually.
Oh, sorry,
well
Harry.
fielded, Pauline.
Yeah.
Sorry, Country Park.
Was there a hike a few years ago, Parry?
There wasn't a hike. I know that they've been there for a while, and the costs were primarily so that everything is cost neutral to actually. So we get the income, we spend that income on the facilities themselves, and that will remain the case. But they've gone up for some time now.
I think it's 2016 according to the web.
On the back of this is a mixture as well, relating back to the previous conversation about garden waste bins. the use of Dinton has been very popular, and we think we're appealing to a ready market. Naturally, we'll also keep under review the income figure here, but don't forget this is also built into the existing business plan that we have for Dinton.
So this increase in revenue that we're going to get here of 60,000, is that based on last year's usage of Dinton or this current year where we've had the problem with COVID?
It's partly based on both, but also bear in mind, even with the problem with COVID, we've seen a boom because people want to be outside and enjoying the outside. You know, so to enjoy exercise and to enjoy our open spaces. So it's, as I said, it relates back to the business plan. So it shows a trajectory of usage and also just most recent figures.
And to a greater extent or lesser extent, once people have used these facilities, it's a bit like the brown bin. You just gave us the position that once you've turned up at Dinton with your kids and you've seen what there is to do, the chances are you will continue to use it and it will become part of your sort of regular regime.
Oh, it is. There's a lot of people use it very regularly just for walking, meeting friends, having a coffee, walking their dogs and all that. So, and I think it's used by people all over the borough. It is a very, very good facility. It is. But car park charges, increase of 10%, I'm not sure about, but that's up to you. So number 32.
Last one, Clive, and then I'm going to Shirley.
Yeah, okay. This is car park charges, I think, probably in the rest of the borough, because it doesn't mention California
right.
Park or Denton. Yeah. So it's the rest of...
Wasn't this what you were explaining earlier, Pauline, where you were reviewing it due to
Yes.
transport and town centres, etc., because basically reassessing what's going on?
Yeah, reassessing what we can charge to keep ourselves in line and ensure that car parking is still available for people who are using the town centres as well.
Right. So we're at the moment we're going to try to put up the car park charges to bring in an extra £500,000 next year.
But we recognise there is a risk on that because of COVID, because of the use of public transport. So we've put a balancing one-off figure special item, as Graham explained, in case we can't get to that.
Okay. And we'll continue to monitor through the end of this year and into next year. Certainly, the figures that we've looked at during the summer, naturally, because of COVID, we have had some dips, but we've equally had some spikes. And I think Pauline's right, point is very well made about the benchmarking that we're using with other areas as well. And we're sensitive to making sure that we observe buoyancy for the town centre and the use of things like the hourly and the day rates then to be competitive with other people who are charging.
So in the year 22-23, we're not expecting any extra money, or is that a error? So
back to Pauline's point about the buffer in the first year, we thought we would maintain that steady figure. So we put some buffer in for the first year, but certainly we think that we're confident about the second year and then the trajectory into the third year.
But we haven't got any money in for the second year, Chris.
No, so the first year is 500 grand with a 250 grand buffer in case it doesn't work. The second year is 500 grand and the third year is 700. So it's a step. So if you'd done it the other way, you would have actually only put a target in 21-22 of 250 grand. But we're going to try and see if we can do 500. But we recognise that because of COVID, we might not be able to, which is why we've put the offset buffer in as a special item.
Yes, okay. All right. And you are the executive member, Pauline, for this?
Yep.
It says yes. Okay. Thank you.
Got my name above it.
Yeah, the big thing on the screen helps. Thank you, Clive. Shirley?
Yeah, but on this, it yes, has the executive member been briefed?
Thank you, Guy. Yeah, I've got an observation really, and a question to do with drains and gullies. Gully cleansing annual programme.
Yeah.
I've noticed this year that there have been lots and lots of gully cleaning going on in the borough. I'm often seeing them out and about with their things down the holes, and it occurred to me that actually in previous years I haven't seen that going on at all, and I kind of wonder whether the previous contractor was just not doing it. And was being paid for not doing it. And so I'm glad now that we have got a contractor who is doing it. So that's kind of more of an observation. But I did want to ask, sometimes the drains, the main drains, the Thames water drains, the SWSs, become blocked because of tree roots, and manholes become obscured because of overgrowth on verges and all sorts of things like that. And Thames Water have to come out and clear those. Do they charge the council where it's sort of an area where the council hasn't kept it cut back, and that has caused the encroachment of roots and so forth into drains, or do Thames Water stand that cost?
I'm sure. I think Thames Water are the people who stand that cost.
Yeah,
I've been having a long.
It's part of their maintenance regime,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, I've been having a long-standing conversation with people about sewage coming out of Thames water drains. I mean, the actual foul water drains are meant to be hermetically sealed so that nothing comes out, regardless of whether there's flooding around or not. So it's their responsibility to maintain them.
Oh, it's interesting because I've had a long-going issue with the surface water drains coming back up, and they've sent cameras down and they've now fixed the problem. But they literally said that there was root encroachment, and they actually had to dig out 2 manholes which had been completely were under about a foot of undergrowth, if you like. And so I was just interested, really. It was whether they charged the council. So
No,
thank you.
I don't think so.
It's part of their ongoing maintenance.
Righty-ho. Yeah, thank you. That was it.
Thank you, Shirley. Right, Paul, you can start again.
I've got some good news for you, Guy. I had 6 questions lined up and Clive's asked all of them.
Makes a change from my ones being nicked.
You haven't got your hand up his back, have you, Paul?
I'm sorry.
No.
All we need now is a crocodile and some sausages to turn up.
So I don't have any further questions. You'll be pleased to know.
Okay, no worries. I noticed Clive's hand's gone down, so that's.
Oh no, mine's going back up again, Guy.
Right, well, I'm going to ask one question quickly because most of mine always get nicked.
You ask as many as you like, and then I'll come in.
No worries. So, again, this is going back to the garden waste recycling process, so the brown bins, etc. I presume that it's also been looked at potentially for the brown sacks. I presume that it was deemed not really worth increasing them specifically.
You mean the green sacks?
No, I mean brown sacks.
Brown bags, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, the brown bags, the brown garden waste bags.
The
Correct,
brown bags for the green waste.
Correct, yeah. Well, the brown bags have been requested by some people who don't want to order the bins themselves, and they're £1 each, and some people only have a infrequent use for those, and those bags are available, and we send them to individuals who actually ask for them. But yes, they are available when people need.
But we haven't put the cost up, guys. What you're asking?
No.
Yeah, effectively, we have. It's been deemed not worth increasing the cost on that one.
It's more aggro than it's worth, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's fair enough. Because due to the size of my own garden, personally, I use the brown bags.
Yeah.
Because one of them is enough whenever I'm dealing with stuff in the garden. 2, if I'm doing a big spring clean.
But you declare an interest, Guy.
I don't think I. Yeah. But yeah, my garden's not big enough for the thing. I think I'd fill it up. I think I'd fill up a green brown bin twice a year, if that. So no point. Okay. Alison, your hand's quickly shot up, and then I'll go to Clive.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, I think it was about a month ago, we offered people who'd like to take out a brown bin at that point. So there was only half of the year left. So they got it at half price, or it might have been at £40. And I did see a bit of an outcry on social media people who'd bought it a week before at full price. And I know it's not the first year that we've done that. And I just wondered if that might be a regular thing and people were told about it ahead. You know, that if you didn't want to have your brown garden waste bin until the end of September, then, you know, you'd only be paying half a year for it.
I'll have to check on that, Alison, but I think that a lot of the people that are actually ordered them this year, they ordered them round about, you know, the beginning of the financial year. But I can totally understand that if you know, halfway down the year they've needed a brown bin. But I'll have to check on that one, Alison, whether we charge only part of that year or the full year, because
we did. It was a promotional thing. You know, you saw it on Twitter and Facebook and everything. But I just wondered if that was going to become a more regular thing. I mean, I don't think we can start saying, you know, it's 2 months in, so now you only have to pay £55 or whatever. But if it was just more of a standard thing, and if you didn't decide to have it until 6 months in, you didn't have to pay the full amount because it wasn't a full year.
I don't know whether it's workable or not.
I'd much rather go to a monthly payment, to be quite candid with you. I think that's a lot fairer.
Oh yes, John, but you're talking about splitting it over the year.
Yeah.
You're not talking about if you start in May or June. You know, you don't pay for the quarter of the year that you haven't had it already. You know, I actually think you're quite right. People are so used to now to having the option that pay it all up front or split it over the 12 or 10 months. It is a very good idea to put that forward.
And in trying to do that direct debit, I think it's equally, can we encourage the longevity? So, you know, we're increasing the price now. Can we look at actually where people can commit to more than 1 year? That would be good as well. But we need to look at how that can be adaptable to our own systems. I understand the point you're making, Alison. I think it's good because either way, we want to get people into the habit of, I've got the bin, it's with me to stay, and I want to get into the recycling habit. And we're trying to make that as flexible as possible in the payment system.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that I personally, you know, I've always had one. I mean, you have to pay it every year. Yeah. I'd rather have set the direct debit up and it just came off again every year.
Exactly.
Until I chose to stop it.
Yeah. Most people just forget about direct debits, don't they?
Particularly if they get the benefit as well.
Can I interrupt a second, Guy? I've just looked at the website, and in fact, we offer three tiers of pricing. 1st of April to 30th of June, it's 60. 1st of July to 30th of September, 45. And 1st of October to the 31st of December, it's 30. So it just depends when you come into the scheme. So I think it's something that's always been ongoing. But I agree with John. I think paying for it monthly, £5 a month or whatever it's going to work out to be, it would encourage a lot more people to do it because they can just budget in their normal budgeting.
I don't disagree with that, Shirley. Right. Okay, anything else on that, Alison? A silence. Clive, your hand's gone down, but I know it's there in spirit.
I've actually taken it down because all my other questions were on special items.
Fair enough. Paul, I see your hand shot back up.
Thank you, Guy. Yes, I did have one other when I scrolled down the page. Not to leave Wayne's out. Page 33, pre-application charging. With the government's white paper on planning reform potentially coming through, do you think there's going to be a decrease in the number of applications because there'll be permitted development and therefore this 30 to 50,000 won't actually come through? Has that been taken into account?
Who knows? You know, let's be honest with you. I mean, we can only work with what we've got today. If we lose it, we just have to do something else, won't we? But at the moment, we can only deal with what we've got today. But we do have contingencies around the place. So if we were to lose that income, for instance, yeah, the other question you can ask yourself as well, there are costs that are associated to that, Paul, because we're looking to recover our costs. If we no longer need those individuals that currently handle all that, well, those costs may disappear as well.
Yeah, that would be a crying shame.
Well, we've got no control over that, unfortunately, Paul.
No.
To answer in terms of demographics so far, we haven't seen a significant drop, but we will continue to monitor. And to answer your question, Paul, it was based on a modest estimate on the trajectory that we so far have. So far, so good. It's been very good. And as a result of the COVID impact, we actually tried to modify some of that figure. So John's point is quite right that we think we've made a reasonable estimate at this.
Okay, thank you. Let's hope the planning white paper doesn't go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Right, do we have any other questions? Silence. Now, Callum, this may be my brain skipping a beat here, but why at the end of the papers do we have the executive programme from September on it?
I asked myself that question, Chairman. I didn't publish the. I was on leave. It's what the officers sent over, so it's what finance sent over. I think it was to give members a bit of reference and sort of some framing for the recycling waste bags, but I'm happy to be corrected.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just slightly confused. Parry, your hand shot up, and then I'll go to Shirley.
Well, if there are no further questions, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add that we've had the 3 customer-facing services from my portfolio, which is waste management, grounds maintenance, street cleaning, and despite the COVID pressures on staff, some of them did fall ill, but we've managed to keep on schedule, and so it's all a credit to Chris's staff and the contractors working together to provide those services. And we've had lots of compliments from the residents that particularly waste management, they were really pleased to see the bin men turning up week after week despite the shutdown during the pandemic.
I'd like to see Viola run our police force, to be quite honest with you.
So yeah, compliments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Parry. Shirley. You're still on mute, Shirley.
Sorry, I was just saying, in answer to your question about why all that was tacked on the end of the agenda, I think that Democratic Services were trying to see who was going to die of a heart attack when they saw there was 102 pages. I think it was a trick.
To be fair, it's not 102 pages is not the longest I've seen. But yeah, I think
you should try something on planning committee, Shirley. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say as well. I think looking
I should avoid that one.
It's quite a good fun, really, Shirley.
I think just to sum up from the chair, as it were, I think looking at this, I feel that with some of the questions that Clive asked, especially to Matt and Charles's point, where we're asking from last year's about the savings, the fact that we actually have delivered those savings so far in this year has been a massive asset to the financial position that we have found itself. If we hadn't been able to deliver those savings, we might have been in a much worse position than it is. And I think it's a testament to especially the work that Matt has done and his team once again to basically have this have their budget, to be brutally honest, mostly under control as of right now. Touch wood, things will remain somewhat stable, but we have to realize that things are going to be a movable feast for a while. And a testament to the work that highways and our waste collectors and everything has done as well, because this is a challenging budget, but going through it and seeing and hearing the explanations of of the growth items and the savings, every single one of them is making sense, and they're not reaching for the sky in terms of being an unrealistic saving. They have all been very realistic, grounded in logic and sound business cases from the sound of it and reading through the documents. Whether that survives COVID is another issue, but from the information that we have here, I am so far content with what we are seeing. There's still work to be done, but I think this is a good start, especially considering we've had one of the two departments that are perhaps the heaviest impact on this council's budget as a whole. And Charles and Matt have done a fantastic job, and Graham and John are doing a good job so far to control this budget as we go through into the next stage. John, Graham, do you have anything that you wish to add or correct me on that initial summation?
No, for my part, I mean, it's part of the regular business of the council now, and will continue to be so, I assume. And it's really important that as we go through this very testing time of COVID, we do always have that in the back of our mind, that what we talk about today may not be what we're talking about in 3 months' time. And that's the only caveat that I would add.
I would just reinforce John Kaiser's point. We're not Doctor Who, and it would be great to have hindsight and foresight. So it's just about working with all the intelligence we have and adjusting at sensible points, because no doubt we will. Not least the local government finance settlement, which I think might come out by the end of November, but we'll see.
If that happens, I'll deliver a bottle of wine to you myself, Graham, because if it happens in November, I will be so shocked. I will happily take that bet.
And Callum, have you got that? This is on recording, so that's fantastic.
Because I'm sorry, but for the last 3-4 years, I recall that came through on like December 14th. I seem to remember an office Christmas party one year that you had it basically arrived just as that was kicking off.
They were the days.
Yeah, they have traditionally been the last Thursday before Christmas. Yeah, which has sometimes been Christmas Eve. Okay. Well, obviously we need to keep a watching brief of that. I would just say, obviously, next meeting we're going to have quite a significant tranche. We'll have 3 departments, and we'll go through it in the same way. And so I'll copy or mimic the same format we used for this one. I thought it actually went pretty well in terms of people being clear of what item we were talking about, and the bid references and cross-referencing to the business plan templates. I thought that worked pretty well. So unless there's any
formats fantastic this evening.
Yeah, okay. So unless there's any comments to the contrary, I intend to use that same approach, because I think people generally were able to follow the specific lines of inquiry and the answers, which is important.
It is very good, Graham. It's very easy to understand. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I will continue my ask set. Some people can ask a set of questions and then go to someone else, because, as has been pointed out a couple of times this evening, all the questions then get nicked. So just to make sure it's fair on that point. Callum.
Yes, thank you, Guy. Just a quick clarification. It's probably for Graham. You mentioned the special items will be coming sort of next month. I've got it down from the last agenda that capital special items and the updated revenue will be 22nd of December. Is that your understanding?
If that's what the timetable says, Callum,
Okay.
I know the next tranche will be
23rd of November.
Children's.
which is children's resources and assets, customer insight and change. Those three will come, and then the next one will be capital and special items. So yes, if that's what the timetable says, Callum, that's what it will be.
Brilliant, thank you.
That means I've got to present, doesn't it, Graham?
So say that again, John.
That means I've got to present one of those, doesn't it, Graham?
You do indeed. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
We're clearly missing something. Someone's obviously going on holiday then.
You got the day
No.
wrong, Graham. That's a Tuesday, not a Thursday, because Thursday will be Christmas Eve. I don't even think they'd leave it that late.
Knowing previously it's been on a Christmas Eve that's been a Thursday. It must have happened in one of the last 15 years or so.
I want to say it was 2016. But yes, okay. I think we've covered quite a bit tonight. I am content. I think this is a good process, and I think effectively, with nothing else on the agenda, I really need to arrange to come into the office to sign minutes. We are effectively done for this evening. There was supposed to be another item this evening, but it has been delayed due to, as I explained last time, due to the C19 redeployment of staff. But that will be coming in November's meeting, Callum, if I remember right. Unless something else happens.
As far as I'm aware, I spoke to Andrew Moulton today, and that's the current plan. But any changes, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, but we'll have to just play that one by ear because France and Germany are going into national lockdowns as of this evening. So we will have to see what the heck's going on.
Okay, thank you, everybody. If that's
no worries. Yeah, that is everything.
Very entertaining evening. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, everyone. I will sign off for this. I will end the meeting here at just after 9:03. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will speak to you again soon for our next meeting in November.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Chris, John.